13. The Orthodox Faith versus Heresies. One God, three persons. This was the Orthodox faith. Every attempt to weaken this faith had been also an attack on theism. Monarchianism had said that God the Son was indeed equal with the Father, but it had denied that he was a separate or distinct person in the Godhead. This was the position of Paul of Samosata. The Logos existed in God just as human reason exists in man. The Logos was an impersonal power. This impersonal power of God was present in all men, but most present in the man Jesus, whom it gradually deified through a union of will rather than of essence. In the modalistic monarchianism of Sabellius, the Son and the Spirit were simple modes of the Father in his self-expression, developments, as it were, in his coherence. To avoid this, said Athanasius, then is a true word essential. And according to Scripture, neither is the Word separated from the Father, nor was or is the Father ever wordless. Monarchianism had thus two alternatives. First, the adoptionist or dynamic view, whereby Christ was a mere man to whom the single person God of single being attached himself by a union of wills. This opened the door to other such attachments, so that God could enter history repeatedly to divinize it by his union with men, movements, emperors, or states. This was paganism again, and history was made the arena of God's activity. The divine will did not issue an eternal decree and create and govern history from eternity. Instead, the divine will worked in and through a fluid history by uniting his will with the will of a great man or movement to effect a desired end. Time and man become determinative, and the best God is the one who captures the dynamic union in history. For the second group, the modalists, Christ was truly divine and one person with the Father, being simply a mode or manifestation of the divine being. There was no real incarnation, but to preserve any reality to the Christ, it was necessary to ascribe to the being of the single person, God the Father, all that befell the Christ in history, including birth, suffering, and death. Thus, this supposedly transcendental being was made a creature of time and a subject of it, so that again the temporal arena became decisive over eternity, or at the very least, it became an area which eternity and God must struggle, with frequent or possible setbacks, to conquer. Man and God are thus together struggling against the universe and time, warring against chaos. A version of this early doctrine appeared after Nicaea in Marsilius of Ankara, who held that the eternal and impersonal Logos, immanent in God and itself the divine energy, became personal at the Incarnation, and, after the Incarnation, was reabsorbed into the Godhead. Athanasius pertinently commented of Marcellus. This perhaps he borrowed from the Stoics, who maintain that their God contracts and again expands with the creation and then rests without end. The pagan concept of being was clearly in evidence. An aspect of God's energy becomes personal in time, where it becomes powerful and commands history, and then, passing from history, returns to a contracted and lower state. History is again the central arena, and God comes to a fuller self-consciousness in history. Thus, every departure from the Orthodox Trinitarian faith, however seemingly an exaltation of God and his transcendence, was a destruction of theism. The perfection and omnipotence of God were in effect denied, and eternity ceased to be determinative of time. History became the focal point of the universe, and not the throne of God, and to be effectual or even fully self-conscious, God had to enter history and link himself with determinative man. God had to find himself in man and in history. This was not theism, but humanism. It was bluntly called atheism by the Orthodox fathers. As they recognized the only possible theism was Orthodox Trinitarian theism, 3 persons, equal and without subordination, one God, omnipotent, unchangeable, and wholly self-conscious and determinative.